Good afternoon, and it's Tuesday afternoon here in Los Angeles, 12 noon, and this is Holidays LALATE with your second stimulus check and second stimulus package. Major developments across the board on your second stimulus check in the CR, the continuing resolution bill that needs to be done by December 11th, or the federal government shuts down and they don't get their check if we don't get our check. Major twists and turns across the board today. And we start the afternoons with this holidays LA with learning that ostensibly that news report last night that said that the day Tuesday would start with an agreement to extend the deadline did not happen. So that news report was not true. That news report that said we were going to start Tuesday with both parties coming in, Republicans and Democrats, to extend the deadline on the second stimulus package in the CR, not true. So they've been on the Senate floor today arguing the deal provisions. And I have major developments across the board, from the White House to the Democrats, the Republicans, to even Nancy. And the bottom line, before I get to the details, is it's all really good news. No one new has come out against the stimulus check, and major forces have come out in favor of the second stimulus check in the continuing resolution. If you're new, joining me on Holidays LALATE, this is a live recording of Holidays LALATE that starts with about 10 minutes of your second stimulus check, and then gets into about 10 minutes of lighthearted holiday decor, how to do it cheap and free during the holiday season. And thank you for joining me on the ever-evolving LALATE holiday set here today. Hope you're enjoying the decor as it starts to unfold. Let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news as we start the new day, and thank you for everyone that's in the room. I'll say hello to Amanda, Dimension, and Keith, and others in the room, is that major forces are coming out in favor of the second stimulus check in the continuing resolution. Where are we and what's going on? Let me recap. A bill has to be done to agree on funding of the federal government very quickly. The bill is called the Continuing Resolution, or CR for short. And the deadline to fund the federal government by law is December 11th. Now, December 11th is not really the deadline because they have to start doing it a few days ahead of time. It has to be voted upon by the Senate, voted upon by the House, and signed by the president. Ultimately, the president doesn't like it. He can veto it. So far, there is no bill. There is no bill. There is no bill provision draft. There have been attempts to draft it. They can't even get to an agreement on drafting. What we have are two memos. We have a memo from Mitch McConnell that was done with the consultation and agreement of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. And we have a memo that was done in a vacuum by a bunch of people who are out of touch and don't know what Americans are suffering on at the moment. The problem creators, Tom and Jerry, and Manchin and Mitt. And suddenly now the tide has turned because of you, the purple power. This is where we are today. This is where we are this afternoon. Stimulus check. Neither memo has a stimulus check in it. We know that. But this is what's happening today. First, Nancy has come out and said, you know what? She really does want a stimulus check in there. Oh, my goodness. I think she got a call from someone named Joe, who on Friday said the stimulus check is still in play. Well, how could it still be in play if Nancy supported the problem creators bill that doesn't have a stimulus check in there? So clearly she got a call from someone, and she now says, I support a stimulus check in the bill. Really quite good. Then she said, ultimately, the decision to put a stimulus check in the bill lands in the hands of the president. Well, what does the president think? A new report out today says the president of the United States, Donald Trump, wants a stimulus check in the CR. Yesterday, Senator, boy, I always say his name wrong, Josh Raleigh, out of Missouri, said that he wants a stimulus check in there, that the state of Missouri wants a stimulus check in there, and then he specifically went to the president of the United States and asked him about the situation, and he said that the president wants a stimulus check in there, and. And Josh urged the president to veto the bill if there is no stimulus check in there. Meantime, Democrats in the Senate say that they will not vote in favor of it. They'll vote against it unless there's a stimulus check in there. And when asked about the situation today, Mitch McConnell's sources told CNBC News that Mitch McConnell is not opposed to a stimulus check, that the president is in favor of a stimulus check. So as you sit here right now, what's incredible great news is that there's no one opposed to the stimulus check on record except the buffoon from Louisiana. Oh my goodness. So this is really promising. So why is this not being done and what's going on? Why it's not being done is because of Mitch McConnell's liability provision. If you're new to this channel, I've been detailing this liability provision since May. Every time Mitch McConnell has introduced a stimulus package, it's included in a liability provision, which Democrats don't want. Some Republicans don't want. It basically says that if you walk into a business and an employer walks up to you without a mask on and coughs on you and you get COVID and die, you can't sue the employer or the business owner. Well, no one likes that bill, so Mitch is doing a version of it. 6 months, you can't sue them. They're like, no, we don't want that bill anywhere. If people get COVID in a business, they should be able to sue the business for contracting COVID from the business. It's as simple as that. And so that provision may be the line in the sand for Mitch McConnell. We don't know. The president is not particularly a big, advocate for the provision. It's Mitch that's an advocate for the provision. Today, Chuck Schumer sort of went at it about that provision, said that provision needs to go, Mitch, for now. We don't need that provision for now. You can take care of the provision in January, which is sort of like, it's going to happen, that provision in January. It's never going to happen ever, that provision. I mean, that provision is a real deal breaker. So what's really interesting, as we sit here at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or about 12:05 Pacific Standard Time, which is 3 o'clock on the East Coast, the day is not unfolding as we were worried it would unfold yesterday night. On Evenings LALATE last night, I said that there was a new report out, one single report, that said that Mitch and Steny, my favorite name, Mitch and Steny, had agreed to extend the deadline and would start extending the deadline today for the continuing resolution. Well, they're not doing that so far. Cross our fingers. So far, they're not doing it. The report said that Mitch was going to extend the deadline today, was going to urgently extend the deadline, and that Steny was thinking about extending it tomorrow. Well, so far, no one's talking about extending it. They're talking about getting it done right now. What does extending it mean for you? Extending it means for you that if there was an agreement by the deadline, December 11th, and they got the check out on December 11th, that means you would get it before Christmas. Extending the deadline for a bill that has a check in it would mean you would get the check after Christmas. That's just not really, it just doesn't make sense. Nothing really makes sense in what they're doing. The other things that are really at issue here are the money numbers. And some of the viewers I see in the comments now are saying really great comments. I see one from John. I see one from James. That's excellent. One from Candace. The great comments that viewers are really latching onto is the numbers game. The people who say they're against a stimulus check, like Cassidy from Louisiana, who just doesn't have his head screwed on correctly, says that he's opposed to a stimulus check because there's a ceiling on the bill of $900 billion. We can't go over it. And a stimulus check is not urgent. And this is not a stimulus bill. This is a relief bill. Okay, let's dissect all that nonsense. First of all, on Friday, Larry Kudlow confirmed there's a $600 billion of CARES Act 1 at SBA that is unused that could be repurposed. Kudlow said the number, $600 billion, said it can be repurposed. That's his exact words, repeating my words. And he said, I understand why the Republicans don't want to repurpose money. It's free money. So $600 billion is two stimulus checks, because $1,200 for a stimulus check is $300 billion. So there's actually two stimulus checks. There's a lot of money there with $600 billion. I can buy a beer with 600, says Chris just right now. And so what's important to understand is that you don't like going over $900 billion, Senator Cassidy. You don't have to. The stimulus check is free. There's $600 billion at the SBA. Send out a $300 stimulus check. You're done. Or send out a $2,400 stimulus check. That would even be better. That's also free. Second, he says that it's not a stimulus bill, it's a relief bill. Well, if it's a relief bill, then why is there no eviction moratorium in there? If it's a relief bill, why is there no mortgage forbearance in there? What's important to understand is that mortgage forbearance and eviction moratorium are free. And as Joe Biden said last Friday, repeating my words, how can you not want to protect people being thrown on the street on January 1st? You have to have an eviction protection because otherwise millions of Americans are going to get evicted. This is where you stand right now. Let's recap where the situation right now is. UI got additional unemployment assistance, W-2s, got additional weeks of benefits under the federal government under CARES Act 1 under a program called FPUC. And those additional weeks of benefits are going to expire in just a few days in December. PUA, created in March, for people who are unemployed, who are unemployed because of the pandemic, who are independent contractors, Grubhub, Airbnb, side hustle, self-employed. Their benefits are running. That program is about to expire in a few days. So both memos are proposing to extend those deadlines to January. Thank goodness, at least a month. But there's nothing in there for eviction moratorium. There's nothing in there for mortgage forbearance. And how about FPUC? I don't think it's going to get done here. It shouldn't get done. If you take it out, we get the stimulus check out. The FPUC is too confusing because Joe wants to come in January and take care of your FPUC and go back to August. Go back to August. So going back to August would go over what these people want to do, which is go forward. So going forward over going backwards, suddenly it just sounds like they're going to cancel out and they're going to give you nothing. The best thing to do is just sort of wait. Instead of getting $900 on FPUC, which is all they want to give you, 3 weeks, then just give some people stimulus checks. Make it very simple. Then the big great news across the board, if you're in states across this country, is that cities, states, counties are issuing new new stimulus. Petunia also dropped a very good comment. What about student loan forbearance? Yeah, that's a great question. That also doesn't cost anything. That should be in here. Joe Biden's a big advocate for it. And you know who's also a big advocate for it is Chuck Schumer. He's urging for it to even be done by executive order. The student loan repayment forbearance is currently protected under an executive order created by Donald Trump that's being enforced by the Department of Education. And that's expiring in December as well. Thank you for the super chat. So why are they making this so much more complicated than it is, says Adriana. Very good comment. Let's actually talk about this a second before I go to state. Let's talk about the federal. Ask me any questions you have so far about the CR before we get to the state stimulus, because that's so different and much more simple than this. So glad I'm single, says Pathetic. Scott Horn, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. So no Christmas for anybody except the rich. I mean, that's what the problem creators are looking for. Problem creators are looking for to give big money to rich people who have gotten a lot of stimulus before. Honestly, I don't care if FPUs is retroactive. It would be just nice to have it back, even if it's only $300 for a week. Interesting. Do you think they'll get it done? The interesting thing is, I think they're going to get it done. I just hope they don't get it done the wrong way. I just hope they don't get it done the wrong way. And Joe Biden says, it's going to be a bad bill. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it in January. I'm like, I don't want a bad bill. Who wants a bad bill? Now, ultimately, it doesn't include everything it should include, but it should include the things that absolutely are expiring and have to be done. It has to have a stimulus check, FPUC. It has to have a stimulus check, mortgage and rent. The rest of that, why are we pulling our hair out because of PPP? There's no rental relief found in Mississippi. I'll be getting to that as well in a second. Yeah, there actually is rental relief in Mississippi. Poor people are getting poorer every day. Very well said, Wesley. And this is what Joe Biden and the advocate for the stimulus checks are saying, which is that if you are unemployed, that's one thing. You have UI and PUA. But some people like senior citizens, SSI and SSDI, retired people, people that did not have a job and don't qualify for UI, they are losing everything. They are the bottom of the K-shaped curve, the K-shaped recovery. The bottom of the K is getting more and more poor. They're falling into the poverty level. And they're the people that need the stimulus right now. People are just dropping incredible comments right now. I just see people talking about their cars and their electric bills and their gas and their heating. Why are we worrying about rich business owners who have gotten billions of dollars of relief before and are back with their hands out? Let's recap the rich people who are trying to get rich bailouts again. Airlines for the second time in a row, transportation for the second time in a row, and then restaurants and all these PPP businesses. PPP has had no less than 3 or 4 or 5 rounds. There's the reason why there's $600 billion sitting at SBA is not because they're just collecting cash. It's because people didn't want the $600 billion or $800 billion. It actually just sat there because no one wanted it. So why are we doing more PPP? If you want to do more PPP, there's $800 billion there if you're not doing a stimulus check. Give us a stimulus check and there's your PPP. I mean, I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. I'll give them my check for people who have a home. I would love to have money to buy something. We need to have money. They don't care about the poor people, only the rich. They really have no one's interest in mind except rich people. These problem creators, Tom and Jerry out of New York and New Jersey, are really almost inhumane. And so is this Cassidy. Really inhumane people that think that relief does not include an eviction moratorium or mortgage forbearance. Thinks that relief includes very big bailouts to rich people who have had rich people bailouts 3 times during this pandemic. Any other questions before we get to state unemployment benefits? Incompetent people in Washington for many years. Very well said comment. The treason is wide. Tom and Jerry. Beer sounds good. I'm praying for the check, says Shan. So what's important to understand is before I get to state stimulus, what I want you to do is I want to take this video and tag the tag the people who are not on point first, the people who are not on point, the people who are against you. Tag the problem creators, Tom and Jerry, Mitt Romney and Manchin, and Cassidy, and just tell them, what are you doing? Stimulus check, eviction moratorium, mortgage forbearance, and we got it done. We got a deal. We got a deal. There's a stimulus check, eviction moratorium, and mortgage forbearance done. Then tag the people who are on the fence. They're not against you, but they're on the fence. Mitch McConnell, his communications director, and his press secretary, and then tag the people and the whole White House team, Kudlow and Mnuchin and all that, and then tag the people who are supporting you. The people supporting you are AOC, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, as at the moment, is supporting you. Can you believe it? And the wonderful senator out of Missouri. He's doing really a great job because he is a Republican and he's going against the GOP to really get this done. All right, now let's turn to state stimulus, as there's over 1,500 people in the room. This is incredible. What I want you to understand for state stimulus is that across the board, states are doing right now money. This is money right now. Not 5 days from now, not 5 weeks from now, not 5 months from now, money right now. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. Meantime, if you've watched videos, you've looked, and you've had problems finding what I'm about to describe, reach out to the volunteers. They're at they now are on the LALATE website. So it's news.lalate.com/community. I'll drop it in the comments to this video. news.lalate.com/community. What's important to understand is that states are doing now 4 different incredible types of relief for you that we didn't have a few days ago. First, they're doing stimulus checks. States are doing stimulus checks, counties and cities. So Orange County, Florida, another round of stimulus checks. Stimulus checks in New Mexico and Colorado. Next, states are doing rent stimulus. So rent stimulus, which is free rent, it's generally $5,000 to $10,000 or $15,000 is being announced across the board. New rent stimulus is in Nashville, Houston, San Diego County, the entire state of New York, the city of New York, the city of Atlanta, most of the major counties in Georgia. And it continues to unravel. There was one I featured this morning out of Ohio, and there was another one I featured this morning out of Pennsylvania, out of PA. So there's a lot of major counties across the board that are doing this. Then states are also giving extended weeks of unemployment benefits. Now, unemployment benefits is going to be complicated because some of you are on PUA, you're not on UI, but states have the ability to give extra weeks of unemployment benefits because they don't want you to lose benefits on January 1st. So some states like Hawaii said, you know what, we're going to extend your UI benefits into, I don't know what it was, February, March. What I want you to understand is that everything I've just told you, watch it on a daily basis. Stay with me because it's going to change every single day. If there's nothing in your city or state, blink because it's going to be there in 10 seconds after you blink. It's changing that quickly. And the window for this to change is very tight. I really think we're going to see this in just now to about December 15th, and then we'll have a few trickle into the end of the year, and that will be the major changes. So what I want you to say is that if you looked up your state, let's say you're in Florida, for example, and looked up in Florida and said, they went live with an Orange County stimulus check 2 weeks ago. I missed it. They're never going to do it again. Guess what? They did it again. If you're in Chicago and you're like, there's no rent, I can't find it. Keep your eyes open because it may be there tomorrow. Then if you are in Alaska and Alaska has not extended the weeks of unemployment benefits, go to the Alaska's unemployment website. Sign up for alerts, sign up for email alerts or text alerts because they may announce it by the 2nd. Now, what I want to last go over with you is what I call privates. There's no real easy word to refer to them. These are private organizations who are nationally recognized nonprofits or religious organizations. And if you watch Purple this afternoon on Afternoons LA and you watch Purple Power Live, you will see me hitting all these states. Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, that suddenly viewers have gone through with the usual state versus city versus county and state housing authority, have not found anything. But then suddenly people are getting rent grants in Michigan. People are suddenly getting rent grants in Arizona. People are suddenly getting rent grants in Mississippi. Not from one, but two, three organizations. And this is what's incredibly important. So if you're sitting back and you're like, I looked in Mississippi, I couldn't find anything. And I just can't find anything. Guess what? There's not one, there's not two, but there's three organizations paying rent in Mississippi. So that's what's really exciting, great news. With that, there's so much unfolding today. And the last thing I want you to understand is get your escalated benefits on for UI. And when you do escalate benefits, do these two things. Please promise me you'll do these two things. One, don't refer to it as escalated benefits. Don't use complicated words ever when you talk to a city, county, or state about anything that you learn from this channel. Do not use complicated words. Use the simplest words you could possibly use for a 4-year-old student because these employees don't understand what you're talking about. So if you're calling up to do escalated benefits, as I teach you on this channel, just say, hey, I want to see if I qualify for extra weeks of unemployment. Very, very simple. And that's as simple as that. Finally, I want you to look up your state's range of unemployment benefits, low to high, because people are literally calling up someone in Texas, someone in Florida, and being told that the maximum the states pay out for unemployment benefits is $100 a week. You would immediately know that's untrue had you actually looked up the number before you got on the phone. But I've had some people actually reach out to me and defend the statement. They told me it's really only $100 a week they have. They have no more money. They have no more money. And ultimately, I think the reason why that happened is because the viewer called up and used complicated words like escalated benefits, because the call center operator said, oh, we don't pay more than $100. You have to get that from the federal government. They thought the person was referring to FPUC. With that, let me answer some of your incredible questions. So drop any questions you have about check or about state assistance. And then join me on Being a Mitch this afternoon, which is also live, in which I answer your questions about unemployment, and Purple Power tonight, in which I answer your questions about state assistance. Where do I go in Ringwood, Georgia? So I don't know what county it is, but you want to look in your county level. SSI, likely to be a standalone bill in January for the $2,400 that I talk about in SSI. Stimulus money in Michigan, yes. So viewers are getting rent in Michigan from private organizations. Virginia, yes. Viewers are getting rent in Virginia, absolutely. Can you help me get my back pay for PUA? Yeah, so that's escalated benefits. If you qualify for more weekly benefits, just follow my advice. I'll cover more about PUA on Being a Mitch, which is the unemployment video on Afternoons LA. That's the big unemployment interview, big unemployment video every day. PA is giving out help for small businesses and nonprofits. Wonderful. But PA is also doing rent. Are there people in Michigan for volunteers? So that's a great question. So for volunteers, all the volunteers do every state. There's only one volunteer, there's just one state. Missouri's back paying me for PUA. Congratulations, William. So how much are you getting back pay in Missouri, William? Is this escalated benefits? Hi from Louisiana, Kentucky. Hello. South Carolina, no stimulus. Well, people are getting rent in South Carolina. I have 2 jobs and lost one. What do I qualify for? If one of them was a self-employed gig, that is an EIDL if you want it. Alabama, State Housing Authority and Urban League. From March now to $15,000. So that's wonderful. So the viewer just got his retroactive benefits of PUA in Missouri, and it's going to be $15,000. That's generally what the numbers generally like because it's been a lot of weeks. So congratulations, that one viewer. He's getting $15,000. Anything for Georgia, all of the counties in Georgia. Can you get an EIDL for nonprofit? Yes, you can. Is Missouri doing stimulus checks? Not yet. Missouri is doing rent in St. Louis County and utilities across the entire state. Upstate New York, the whole state's doing rent. SSI in Missouri. SSI would come from the federal government. Someone said, I can see you on the road. Well, I'm not traveling just yet. When is the unemployment going to get extended, and when will the stimulus check be coming from Michigan? So Michigan, some people are getting rent in Michigan from private organization, and unemployment would be extended under the 2 memos we're talking about in the CR. What about Washington State? I have a volunteer that actually is on Washington and is doing really great work for helping getting people rent. Anything in upstate New York? Yes, the entire state is going to get rent. EIDL stuck. What is your reference? So if you're stuck on processing, that means they have not accepted the EIDL. Call them up. When you've accepted and it still says processing, you are stuck. If it's stuck more than 2 days, then call up SBA, ask for Tier 2. What about for unemployment in Florida? Yeah, so you can do escalated benefits in Florida. What's going on for mortgages? Oh, that's a really great question. So one viewer last night in Purple Power Live talked about Chase was doing a very nice job for people who are having problems with their mortgage because of COVID. So that was something one viewer volunteered. Really wonderful. Los Angeles County. Los Angeles County has utilities across the board. No rent. They did rent over July, but utilities across the board. What is Joe Biden doing for gig workers? He's going to do hazard pay, and then he's going to do the CDC grant. Got utilities paid in Pasco County, Florida. Congratulations, Sandra. I'm okay with rent. Someone asked a question, went really fast. Maricopa County. Someone got rent in Maricopa County. It was about a week ago. Stimulus in Chicago, Illinois. Perhaps rent. Wisconsin, perhaps rent. Pennsylvania is not doing rent. And I just called United Way, and they said because the rent moratorium. So Pennsylvania, I've had a lot of viewers get rent. I've got a ton of viewers get rent. They've gotten it from privates in Pennsylvania. They've all gotten it from privates. And they got it in the last few days. And then someone got it about a week and a half ago. I've been doing this for about 14 days. I live in Maricopa County, and they told me our application had been being contacted with someone. What I advise viewers is that if you've got an application on file and then they tell you you're on a waiting list, do something else. So someone said Salvation Army doing rent in Pennsylvania. I went over the notes. I don't have the notes on set, but I went over Pennsylvania on Purple Power Live last night. I'll do it again tonight. Remember, Purple Power Live is the video in which I go live about all these state rents. And then Being a Mitch is where I go over all the unemployment issues. What about SSI and SSDI for upstate New York? What's important to understand, I've said this before, I want to make it very, very clear, is that when you're looking for this CARES Act 1 money, you don't qualify it with anything. Like, how about rent for SSI? How about checks for SSI? You don't add something on the end of it. You just keep it open. I got utilities in Tennessee through one group. I didn't see it was $3,300. Congratulations, Iowa. Someone has gotten something in Iowa. Someone's gotten something in Iowa. LA, certain areas of Pennsylvania have it, especially if you live in big cities. Thank you. What about mortgage forbearance? Well, Chase is doing a really great job. Texas resides Houston. So Houston's doing rent now. Before it was Catholic Charities. And before that, it was the city of Houston. Is Missouri one of the states that's paying a stimulus check through CARES Act fund? No, Missouri is doing rent in St. Louis County and stimulus and then stimulus utilities across the state. Massachusetts, Tyrone got $15,000 in rent for his family of 5 because in Massachusetts because of this channel. You never explain what's happening in Georgia, except I've heard that ours. Okay, so in Georgia, Gwyneth, DeKalb, City of Atlanta, and a few others are going live with rent stimulus. This is free rent. And so there's a lot of counties in Georgia, and I expect more of them as well. California, anything? Yes. Rent in St. Louis, rent in San Diego, utilities across the entire state. Some people have said they've gotten rent in Riverside. I don't know where, Riverside County or San Bernardino. And then Long Beach has some beer grants if you're a bar owner. So there you go. Connecticut, someone got something in Connecticut. Virginia, a lot of people have gotten big money for rent in Virginia. Absolutely. Website to find the volunteer. It's news.lalate.com/community. News.com/news.com/community. I'll drop it in. It was in the if you watched Morning's Check, which is the pinned comment, it's a link in the video. Actually, when you're watching the video at the 3-minute mark. I'll try to drop into this video as well. Are they doing utilities in Pennsylvania? They are. What is a stimulus check coming in Pennsylvania? There is no. They're doing a stimulus package in Pennsylvania. I don't know what it is yet. Anything in Syracuse? Yeah, Syracuse, New York. Yeah, the whole state is doing stimulus rent. What about Alabama? State Housing Authority, Urban League. Massachusetts doing rent. Anything from Michigan? Yeah, someone got rent in Michigan last night. And so there you go. Join me this afternoon on Afternoons LALATE, which is at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. I really think Afternoons LALATE and Evenings Check will be the big broadcast today you cannot miss, along with Purple. Afternoons LALATE at 3:30 will go over what's going on with the CR. As you see, there's not a lot of major changes on the CR since yesterday, just people bickering, which is good. You don't want them to extend it. But I think we may have some developments in the next few hours. Then join me for Purple right after that, in which I go over more about what I'm talking out here state by state, state stimulus checks, state rent stimulus, and more. And then I'll be going back live on Being a Mitch to answer your questions about unemployment, everything unemployment, retroactive, forward, backwards. And then join me on Evenings Check with the late night update about check, because they're doing things around the clock, these people. And then finally, Purple Power live at night on your questions about state stimulus. And that's a big broadcast. That's the one where we learn from everyone and everyone else. As always, thank you for joining me on a very well-watched afternoon, and thank you for enjoying the new Holidays LALATE set behind me. I didn't give you any holiday decor advice in today's recording, so let me just end with something very simple. Sometimes people say holiday decor is cluttering. Sometimes people say holiday decor is overwhelming. What I like to do is do big and do small. So you clearly see behind me, I have some items that are very, very big, and then some items that are very, very small, sort of get out of frame here so you can see them. And what's important to understand is that when you're doing something that's relatively small against something that's relatively big, the contrast really helps. Also, don't get the color scheme too complicated. You'll see I am doing sort of gold, red, silver, gold, red, silver. Keep it relatively in the same hue scheme if you want to really accent the tree or the garland in this case, which is green. And you see on even the wreath that the wreath sort of complements what's going on as well. The decor will change over the next couple days, but I hope you stay here as well. Thank you for your great spirit. Keep it positive, keep it focused, keep smiling, and stay LA for more.